Adam was a young and ambitious man who had worked hard for a year as a tour guide. After saving up, he decided to buy an apartment on the third floor of a 6-story building. At first, everything seemed perfect, but soon, strange things started happening. The first odd occurrence was the strange noises he heard coming from the building's basement every time he passed by the entrance or exited the building. These sounds resembled whispers and faint knocks, but they would disappear whenever he tried to focus on them. The second unsettling event happened when he woke up in the middle of the night to loud banging on his door. He saw shadows behind the door, but when he opened it, no one was there. The most terrifying incident happened when Adam returned home from work one evening, only to find photos of himself sleeping in his room. The pictures were taken from different angles, as if someone had been in the room with him. Driven by fear and curiosity, Adam decided to ask his neighbors if they had noticed anything unusual. The response he got was shocking. They told him that the apartment he was living in was known for strange noises, screams, and the sound of things breaking. They added that the previous tenant had mysteriously disappeared, and they preferred not to talk about it. Terrified and angry, Adam decided to investigate the basement to uncover the source of the sounds. But when he reached the basement, he found it locked with 2 massive padlocks that seemed impossible to break. Something was hidden behind that door, something that no one in the building wanted to discuss. One night, overcome by curiosity and fear, Adam heard a noise coming from the basement that he had never heard before. It sounded like a continuous, terrifying whisper that grew louder and louder. He approached the door, trying to keep his composure, but suddenly the door creaked open slowly on its own. A dark passageway appeared, leading to a staircase that seemed to descend endlessly. With hesitant steps, Adam began to descend. With each step, the sound grew more intense until it became a chorus of screams coming from the depths of hell. When he finally reached the bottom, he found a small room with a large mirror covering the entire wall. Suddenly, his reflection appeared in the mirror, but it wasn't him. Instead, he saw the image of a long-dead figure staring back at him with empty eyes and a wicked smile. At that moment, the wall began to move, as if something was trying to break free from the mirror. Adam couldn't contain his fear any longer and ran as fast as he could out of the basement, up the stairs, feeling as though something was chasing him. When he reached his apartment, the noises were louder and clearer, as if they were following him in every corner. Unable to bear it any longer, Adam quickly packed his belongings and fled the apartment without looking back. As he left the building, he turned around one last time and saw the ghostly figure he had seen in the mirror standing at his apartment window, staring at him with the same wicked smile. From that day on, Adam never returned to the apartment. People said he vanished just like the previous tenant, and the apartment remained closed forever. The strange noises could still be heard occasionally, as if they were searching for a new victim.
In the quiet town of Ravenswood, life moved at a slow and predictable pace. Nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, it was a place where everyone knew each other, and the biggest excitement came from the annual fair. But that all changed when the shadows started to whisper. It began on a crisp autumn evening. The air was thick with the scent of burning leaves, and the sky was a tapestry of twilight colors. Detective Sarah Mitchell was on her way home after a long day at the precinct. She had recently transferred to Ravenswood, seeking a quieter life after years in the big city. But as she drove through the winding roads, a sense of unease settled over her. Her phone buzzed, breaking the silence. It was a message from her colleague, Officer Daniels. "Mitchell, we need you at the old Miller house. Something's not right." The Miller house had been abandoned for years, a relic of a bygone era. Sarah had passed it countless times without giving it a second thought. But tonight, as she pulled up the gravel driveway, she felt a chill run down her spine. The house loomed in the darkness, its windows like hollow eyes watching her every move. Daniels was waiting by his patrol car, a grim look on his face. "We got a call from a neighbor. They heard screams coming from the house." Sarah nodded, her hand instinctively reaching for her flashlight and her sidearm. Together they approached the front door, which creaked ominously as they pushed it open. The inside was a labyrinth of dust and decay, the remnants of a once happy home now shrouded in neglect. "Split up," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'll take upstairs, you check the ground floor." Daniels nodded, and they moved in opposite directions. As Sarah ascended the creaky staircase, the air grew colder and the whispers began. Faint at first, like the rustling of leaves, but growing louder with each step. She could almost make out words, though they were distorted and fragmented. Help. Trapped. Darkness. Her heart pounded as she reached the landing. There were 3 doors, each one closed. She chose the one on the left and pushed it open. The room was empty, save for an old rocking chair that creaked gently as if moved by an unseen hand. The whispers grew louder. "Please, find us." Sarah backed out of the room, her flashlight trembling in her hand. She tried the second door. This one led to a bedroom, equally empty, but for a broken mirror hanging on the wall. The whispers seemed to come from the very walls themselves, echoing in her mind. "Save us. He's here." Her pulse quickened as she approached the final door. The whispers were almost deafening now, a cacophony of desperate voices. She pushed the door open and found herself in a small, cluttered study. Papers were strewn across the desk, and old books lined the shelves. But what caught her eye was the trap door in the floor, partially hidden by a threadbare rug. Taking a deep breath, she pulled the rug aside and heaved the trapdoor open. A narrow staircase led down into the darkness, the whispers now a chorus of terrified pleas. She descended cautiously, her flashlight cutting through the blackness. At the bottom, she found a small cellar. The air was thick with damp and decay. In the center of the room was a large wooden crate. The whispers reached a fever pitch as she approached it, her hand trembling as she reached for the lid. With a creak, the lid came off, revealing the gruesome sight inside. Human remains, long since decomposed, lay haphazardly within. But there was something else, something that made her blood run cold. A small, worn diary lay atop the bones. She picked it up, the whispers fading to a haunting silence as she opened it. The diary belonged to a young girl named Emily, who had lived in the house many years ago. The entries started innocuously enough, detailing her daily life. But as Sarah read on, the tone grew darker. "There's a man who comes at night. He whispers to me. He says he wants to take me away." The entries grew more frantic, detailing how the man would appear in the shadows, always whispering, always watching. The final entry was a scrawled, desperate plea for help. Sarah felt a presence behind her. She turned, her flashlight illuminating the face of Officer Daniels. But something was wrong. His eyes were vacant and his mouth twisted into a cruel smile. "Did you find what you were looking for?" he whispered, his voice merging with the chorus of shadows. Realization struck her like a lightning bolt. Daniels wasn't who he seemed. He was the Whispering Man, the killer who had haunted this town for years, hidden in plain sight. Before she could react, he lunged at her, the cellar filling with the screams of the long-dead victims. In the end, Sarah's body was found in the Miller house, her face frozen in a mask of terror. The diary, her only clue, lay beside her. The townspeople whispered of the detective who had come see King a quieter life, only to become another victim of the whispering shadows. Ravenswood returned to its eerie silence, the whispers continuing to haunt the dark corners of the old town, waiting for the next curious soul to venture too close to the shadows.